Hey friends, I'm gonna hop on today. And sometimes when you discover something that is just so filling and life filling um, and amazing, you just want to share it. And last month, I was able to go on a silent retreat, and I've mentioned that before. But one of the opportunities that I had was to read this book called Lectio Divina by Basil Pennington. And one of the things that he had quoted was a wise old proverb from centuries ago, and it says, "The finger is not greater than the moon." Now you hear that, and you're like, "Okay, that's kind of interesting." So I wanted to expand on that. What Pennington writes regarding this proverb. He says, "We don't want to mistake the finger for the moon. We are not interested in the finger that points to the moon. We are interested in the moon itself. We're not interested in our own insights and ideas. We're interested in that to which they should all point, the living word and his presence in the intimacy of this sharing moment." And that really struck a chord with me because a lot of times I've been blessed with being able to be an encouragement to someone. That's like one of my favorite things to do is to just speak a word of encouragement or a hug or something that somebody might need for the day. That is my love language. And um, early on, I was the finger going, "Hey, look at me, I'm doing this great thing." And what I've discovered over the past maturing phase is that all of my grandiose, encouraging things, it's not about me. And I remember in my whole yoga training, one of the things that really offended me at first, they said, "It's not about you." And our human nature is to go, "It is about me," right? But this proverb talks about, a lot of times we are pointing to the things that we do, or we're pointing to, our own awesomeness when we should be pointing to the first and foremost, the person that it's directed to, and inevitably to the creator. And whatever your belief system is, there is a God. There is a God. And he's the one that's designed and created us for the very purpose of glorifying him and to encourage others by teaching them, by encouraging them, for by speaking life into them, right? And and I struggled with this when I read this quote, "The finger is not greater than the moon," because I thought, "Oh, what do I need to do different?" And God reminded me of when a baby first notices they have toes, or first notices their voice, or first notices, something unique about them. And the baby's just like, "Hey, look, I've got feet, I've got fingers, let me shove them in my mouth." And it's to the parents' delight to see their baby growing and exploring and discovering new traits about them, just like our heavenly Father delights and enjoys when you're like, "Oh, I got to do this." I got to smile, at somebody and it made their day. I'm so excited about that. And he loves that realization that we are discovering his gifts that he's given to us. But it would be kind of weird if we're teenagers or we're adults and we're still going, "Hey, look, I've got fingers. Isn't that so exciting?" And then showing to everybody, and they're like, "Yeah, of course, you've got fingers. I've got fingers too." And the point I want to make is when God's giving you a word, or he's giving you a word of encouragement or a word of wisdom for someone, or perhaps your gifting is in sharing or serving or any number of things, it points to him ultimately. And the word says that don't store up treasures on earth, and don't let your left hand see what your right hand's doing. If you're around parading around saying, "Hey, look at me, I've got my fingers," you've already received your reward, right? But the things done in secret, the things between you and the Father, where you're like, God, I am so excited that I got to do this, or I'm so excited that I got to support someone, or sow a seed into someone. Um, the Father delights in that, right? And that's between you and Him. And another thing that he was showing me was the fact that a lot of times when we are um, along our journey, there's sometimes where, because we're self-centered, and I'm pointing to myself, and that's something that God's maturing in me. But a lot of times we step into somebody's process, somebody's journey, somebody's wrestling, and then we make it about ourselves. For example, a few years ago, I was convinced that this woman hated me. I had shared part of my testimony, and after that, she just, I thought for sure she hated me. And it turns out years later, God was in the process of convicting her, and God was in the process of wanting to draw out um, what He wanted to heal in her. And I could have easily said, it's about me, and she's mad at me, and she hates me. But to later find out that it was something she was wrestling with, that I had no part in, being offended, right? So, to narrow it down, don't make your process, Beth's process, be more important than pointing to the one that deserves it, right? The finger is not greater than the moon. So that's all I have to say. Great, great quote. Let me read it again because it was so good. We don't want to mistake the finger for the moon. We are not interested in the finger that points to the moon. We are interested in the moon itself. We are not interested in our own insights and ideas. We are interested in that to which they should all point, the living word and His presence in the intimacy of this sharing moment. So I hope that stirs something in you where you're like, I need to think about that a little bit, and wrestle with it maybe. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later.